Welcome back to Sarah's Spare Corner. My name is Sarah. I am the host of Sarah's Spare Corner. Sarah's Spare Corner encompasses gaming as well as arts, crafts, various different forms of creativity. Additionally, I like sharing theories, concepts, and ideas as I am a philosophy major. And when I'm not bored, I might travel places and I might post about it. Today, I am going to show you the footage from Fan Expo Canada 2025, as well as a couple of other extracurricular things that I did in the GTA. And this is obviously months later, but I finally have time to sit down and edit. This first portion of the video will be little tiny clips I took at the convention, as well as some of the other things we did. Keep in mind that we were there a day or two earlier, and so we had time to go see Medieval Times, as well as the Ripley's Aquarium. Then I visited my family for like a day, because I'm actually a Ritario. So because of that, you will be seeing a good portion of obviously Fan Expo clips, but there will also be some other things in there from the rest of my trip. The ending of the video will actually be me doing a voiceover explaining the entire lore of Bleach to my friend with photo clips over the video. So in that way, there's still clips of the photos I took, but also this really long moment I shared with my friend. It was over an hour long. I don't know how the editing process is going to work because this is actually, before I start editing, and it may be the full hour, but I'm just letting you know that that's the way this section of the video is going to go. I will add a kind of a preface before the clip starts rolling of me doing the voiceover and the photos are there, but the first portion of this video is just raw footage that I took in Toronto. If you don't want spoilers of Bleach, then you can entirely skip the rest of the video, but I'm just letting you know now. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this video.
So my friend brought this wig to wear for the con, and she has asked me to help her work with it. We have really good length. The texture of the wig material is also really good, and easy to work with. But we're gonna have to do some trimming. We're gonna have to do some styling. Really hoping this works out. But I think we can do this. What do you think? Do you think we can do this? You have faith in me? Yeah. I have faith in you too. Oh my god. Fan Expo 2025, here we come.
Okay, so here's what we've got. It's kind of drying. I said gluing. It's drying a bit. These are pieces I've glued. I've trimmed them down. Also this side, I'm probably going to have to do a little bit more tomorrow just to make sure that these pieces are actually going where I want. I might have to buy a piece of hairspray just to make sure the top is pretty settled, and as well as the back. Obviously this is a little bit knotted, but I am not scared of knots anymore, so I think I can easily fix that. But here's where we've got much better, I think. Are they happy? Yeah.
There's no problem with this.
I think it's another one of those dabbers. Yeah. It's swimming the same direction.
People think are so small.
We're getting a lot of photogenic fish right here. Hi! He's like, what do you mean I can't go further than this?
Daddy, every day they get played, every you they get no, they have
Red Irish Lord.
There he is. Look at that monster.
at Rainbow Reef. How many different kinds of fish? You can shout it out.
100.
Less than 1,000,000, less than 1,000?
100.
Well, 100 was pretty close. We do have about 100 species of fish here at Rainbow Reef. Now that makes up about 600 individual fish. That is a lot of tiny mouths to be feeding. Now, speaking of food, the fish here at Rainbow Reef are fed a mixture of things like lettuce, bok choy, other kinds of veggies, as well as things like brine shrimp and protein pellets. They might be hearing some of those things like lettuce and veggies. I wonder why we are feeding fish things that grow on land. Well, this is a very good question with 2 answers. So first, it is more sustainable for us to be sourcing their food on land instead of taking marine plants out of their natural ecosystem. Also, all of the foods I did just mention have the same, if not better, nutritional value for our fish. So we are managing to keep ourselves as sustainable as possible while making sure that all of our fish stay well fed. Now, as we learned a moment ago, we've got 100 species here at Rainbow Reef. So unfortunately, if I were to talk about all 100, we would be here for a very long time. So instead, I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about some of my favorites. Now, bright yellowtail, which gives us several over here behind me, as well as in the far corner over there. Now, if we take another look at that fish, and we look at that that black circle on their side, this is actually where some of their name is coming from. So the palette part of their name comes from these markings. A long time ago, people thought that looks a little bit like an artist's wooden paint palette. Now, the surgeonfish part of their name comes from 2 small spines. Here you're sharing something you learned at the aquarium with your friends and family, anything like that. A little bit does make a difference. All right, everyone, so that's all the information I have for you today. If you have any questions about
Dat is mooi, hè? Ja. Als een goed systeem dat iedereen het kan zien, hè? Want ja, in dat park. Amai!
That shark over there. Come back. Wait, come back.
And the big shark. I caught the Yeah, I know. Oh, these guys were in the original Roblox game, remember? These models like that.
Yeah, it's emergency stop.
Look at this guy.
Look at these fish, look at these fish. Oh, that's I really think these sharks are really
These guys are so fat.
Arrest the shark.
That's a look at these stingrays who I would definitely I think that made him actually back when I saw it.
Where's the shark?
That looked jiggly.
feel it. You feel it tickling.
There probably was, we just didn't see it.
Drink.
Let's go, guys.
I see it, Mr. Oh, I see it. I see it, please.
Nothing like this. The way they break.
Tại vì cái này có lúc đó mình cũng ngứa hả, đụng cái này ngứa hả?
Mà nếu mà ngoại những cái con này á.
I feel like this is like what we...
It's a fast one.
Yeah, that tracks.
Most of knights in their service. Thus, a great tournament was called to declare a new champion to this unified realm. Of kings or queens.
They showed the yellow color. Does that mean that's them?
I guess so.
The ever-impressive massage. And now, good queen, my special gift to you. His training yet continues, but shows great promise, and his beauty is beyond all others. Let his glory stand as a symbol of our royal alliance. Here I present my most beautiful.
What is his name?
That is for you to decide.
Then I shall choose one to befit his character. Again, don't Stuart, please.
A wonderful gift, to be sure, but to set her aloft with all the nobles present.
Be still, my noble guests, and do not seek the Falcon's attention. Remain in your seats and do not attempt to distract her from her purpose. For the talons are sharp, and the keen eye locked upon the task.
So has it ever been. The falcon, poised for flight, has come forth-wooded. But once the wood is removed, the age-old dance of the hunted and the huntsman begins.
Behold, she takes wing!
Bring it on. He's like, I don't know about one.
This is literally my favorite part about the end of the day of the con.
Milk and honey. But now it's a little different because there are different things that draw people to conventions, right? Especially because there's so many conventions now. Like everybody's like, I'm pretty sure like in 10 minutes you'll hear an announcement for another new convention in Toronto down the street. So, but while they become more mainstream, that doesn't necessarily impact the numbers. It's more of a how original can you make the show and the economic atmosphere of the show at the time. So, yeah, good question. I was literally stalling talking about conventions, and they asked me like to name 4 really cool anime, and I'm like, oh, I got the perfect setup now. So I made the 4th one Sailor Moon.
Is this on?
No.
I can't believe. Oh, silly jokester. 12 years later.
Right.
We met 12 years ago. I just can't believe it's almost 9 o'clock and you're all still here. It's like, maybe 5 or 6 people might be.
They're homeless. They live at Fan Expo now.
Folks, and I can tell you exactly when that moment was. So my mother, Joanne Hawks, who got me into community theater, loved dressing up for Halloween. And her favorite costume was putting on an old flannel nightgown and a little cap and cold cream all over her face. And the kids would knock, and she'd open the door and she'd go, "What do you want?" And they're like, "Oh!" So she scared them. And then she'd go trick or treat. So she had fun with the kids. So she would often phone me at the end of the night and tell me what was going on. So this one Halloween, she phoned me and she said, "Honey, I'm having a really interesting night." I said, "What's going on, Mom?" She said, "Well, there are all these Sailor Moons at the door." I said, "You're kidding." She said, "No, little Sailor Scouts and Sailor Moons." I said, "What do you say to them?" She said, "Oh, I just tell them I'm Sailor Moon's mom." So she scared them in another way. It was really a little awful that somebody else has embraced for a while is a very hard gig. So I really appreciate that she poured her heart and soul into it and did a really good job. And Tracy Moore, that's a whole other story. But Tracy and I, this is a little tidbit, Tracy and I were in musical theater together as teenagers in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Yeah. And yes, Tracy left after a few episodes, creative differences with the producer, but she and I have crossed paths in other ways too. So Care Bears that I did a long time ago, I then moved to New York City, and Tracy came in and filled in a couple of the roles that I had done. And I think we did that on Beverly Hills Teens too. I guess some people consider our voices similar in some ways. I don't hear it as much, but there is something in terms of the timbre of our voices. Yeah, so Tracy and I go ways back, a ways back. So Shannon and I go way back, actually a little longer than Tom and I go back. Shannon and I met, I think, over 15 years ago, and she was a student at York University at the time, and she helped me with some editing projects and admin projects and quite a few projects, and we became friends, for which I'm eternally grateful. And a few years ago, Shannon phoned me up and said, "Terry, I've written a script for a digital series. Will you be in it?" And I just said, yes, because I love Shannon. And then I said, could I please read the script? And
possibly the most terrifying email I've ever sent.
And I loved the script, not just because I love Shannon. So I wanted to draw the connection with Sailor Moon, and I'll let Shannon tell you why. And I also really want you to know about this digital series because we have, season 1 is available on YouTube. It's called Lady Ada's Secret Society. Sometimes we call it LAS. Pretty clever acronym, right? And we have season 2 in the can, as they say, and it will be dropped later this year. And I just want to tell you, I'm so proud of this series. And Shannon and the collective have won and been nominated for many awards. It's getting a lot of traction. It's really special. So I'm going to turn it over to Shannon to tell you a little bit about Lady Ada's Secret Society.
But it's a group of girls, and a lot of them are heavily influenced by the characters from Sailor Moon. They're funny, but they're kind of also a little bit awkward sometimes. And they're a little bit like gross monsters sometimes, but when it counts, when it matters, they all come together, and the power of friendship unites them, and they can overcome any obstacle. So,
I love that. And I've talked about that theme of friendship with many of you today already. And the other themes that come to mind that I think are aligned in Lady Ada's Secret Society and Sailor Moon are the resilience, the ability to get knocked down and pick oneself up again and just keep on going. And as I said to a couple of you today, an ability to laugh at oneself when one gets knocked down and just have a little humor about oneself and our shortcomings. And I'm going to say there's a lot of humor in Lass by myself. But in those moments when all the Sailor Scouts were in the recording booth, and it was magic. First of all, because of the storyline, but also because those original Sailor Scouts are all so talented and all wonderful human beings. We had so much fun together. There was just lightning in a bottle, as some people say. It was a magical cast. And so when we had a good quorum from the cast at the same time, absolutely, those were my favorite moments. Thanks for asking.
Great question.
Well known now as iconic.
Wow, what a good question. I could take a lot of time to answer that because I really love the craft of acting and I really treat it seriously. In general, I would say I usually ask a lot of questions, probably too many for some people's taste. But in any script, whether it's a voiceover script, whether it's a commercial, which I don't really do anymore, but same premise, commercial, animation, theater, film, television. To me, there's a process to look at the character. I studied 2 forms of acting, Uta Hagen, respect for acting, if any of you are actors, and then the Meisner technique. So Uta Hagen would teach you to look at the character, ask yourself, what does the character want? And what is getting in the way of you and what the character wants? What are the obstacles? And then how does the character get that? So that, for me, that's a really good framework when I'm looking at a script and I break it down. And then the Meisner technique is a little more sort of emotionally based. I'm really simplifying it, so don't anybody take me at this very quick response, but it's about really staying in the moment and being true to the emotional life of what's going on with the character and the relationships that the character has. So those are the 2 guiding principles I generally use when I'm looking at a script and figuring out, what direction the character's going. So I don't remember exactly what I was thinking about Sailor Moon that night, but for sure, she is a character with very clear objectives, and she knows how to get what she wants. She's not always successful, but there are many ways she gets it. She's powerful, she's pouty, she's maybe a little manipulative. There are lots of things she does, and it's one of the reasons I love the character of Sailor Moon, because she's so multi-dimensional. She takes us on so many emotional journeys, and she's strong, but sometimes her strength comes through vulnerability. And so there are all those nuances. So I would say that's how I would have approached the character, not just for the audition, but also during our recording sessions. It's a good question. So many of you may know that there's a big difference between original animation and anime or animation that is dubbed. So with original animation, the actors are in a sound studio, we read from a script, and then the animators draw the characters to match our voices. So like a vowel sound, the mouth would be open, a consonant, the mouth would be closed. And actors generally really love original animation because they can improvise. They can kind of do all kinds of wild and wacky things, and a lot of it makes its way into the show. So there's some latitude there. Dubbing is a different story. So if you just think of the steps, it starts in Japanese, and then they have to have a translator, and then they're also editing and shortening, and then they have to pick a certain number of words that fit in the certain length of the scene, and then they have to somehow do their best guess to, if this Sailor Moon character, who was originally recorded in Japanese, opens her mouth here, well, maybe we should give the English Sailor Moon character a vowel here. And they do that, and then they created at the time something called a rhythmoband, which is just a rolling, non-stop kind of cycle of words while you're watching the image, and you're expected to synchronize everything, to just time it perfectly. And it was a very new concept test. It was my first anime, it was my first, I'd done some dubbing for films and so on, but it was the first role that I had like this, where we were doing that. So It's a long response to your question, which is there was very little room for improvisation. So if we just got through the line or the scene, we felt like we had a major success if it looked like the character and the voice were synchronized. So there wasn't a lot of improvisation. There was, to answer the second part of your question, a memorable moment, just very briefly, there was one day when Sailor Moon had just about every line in the show. I can't remember which episode it was, I wish I could. And normally we stop, start, and fix things and try things again. This one day, I was in the booth with Roland Parliament, the director, on the other side of the glass, and Saul, the engineer, and Nicole Twan, the producer, and we just started rolling, and we kept going, and going, and going, and it just worked. And we recorded a whole episode without stopping. And then Saul stopped the tape, and we all looked at each other and went, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And it was kind of like, I don't know, like creating a musical piece from scratch, and it just all worked. It was very gratifying and very memorable, and yeah, I wish I could tell you what episode it was, but the feeling was euphoric. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Feeling your best, what was the hardest episode to record?
I don't remember the specific episode, but I'm gonna say there was one day when I think we recorded 3 shows in a row. And it's physically pretty challenging to talk a lot in general. But Sailor Moon has some very challenging vocalizations, a lot of battle cries and very forceful things, or crying. So I do remember, not very often, but once or twice, at the end of a very long day when we were really trying to crank out some episodes that needed to meet a timeline, it was physically and thus emotionally challenging. But we did it. We pulled it off. Thanks for your question. Thank you, everyone, for your questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, Terry Hawks, please round of applause.
Thank you.
Once more, if we didn't get to your question, Terry will be back tomorrow in the Exhibitors Hall. Otherwise, thank you for coming, and enjoy the rest of your evening at Fan Expo Canada 2020.
Lord of the Rings.
So you're gonna follow the map and we'll find out what's at the end?
My bag down, actually.
Not taking your picture, but I do want to take a picture of the screen.
Absolutely, do what you gotta do. All right.
Oh, no, can you start playing? Because I want to take a picture of the gameplay.
Let's see if I can do this. Of course, I'm gonna be Sailor Moon. Fight love and justice. I'm gonna fight for it. Okay. Oh. Wait, I guess I'm using my moon wand.
Oh yeah, there you go. Right away.
Thanks, ladies. Thumbs up.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Oh, I got wrecked. Oh. Maybe I should actually play the game instead of recording at the same time. Oh my god, I know that guy in the white.
Yeah.
Oh, I got him. Nice.
Getting destroyed.
Punch him, Sailor Moon. Why'd you punch me? Oh. What are we? Why is there friendly fire in this game? You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I just threw someone.
Get wrecked, queen.
Come here. Oh, there we go. Oh my god.
I'm getting this girl, just like smacking her in the face every now and then.
Destroyed.
No, none of you.
Oh, I died again. It's all on you now. I died too many times.
Okay, well then you record while I do this. The problem is I don't know the buttons, you know what I mean? Woo! Everyone got thrown. I think I died. Dang. Wait, yes, how do I press? Yes. Wait, now we're Sailor V. Okay, never mind. I'm Sailor V now. Wait, hold on. There we go. Now it's Sailor Moon. What is going on?
There's always one.
I don't need a bunch.
You're gonna test your one out.
Did you get a free one?
Get a Labubu, whatever they're called.
Absolutely.
Oh, Charlie Brown.
He is Doc Brown. Make some noise for Christopher Lloyd. Toronto, if you can, get on your feet and celebrate the arrival of our Marty McFly, Mr. Michael J. Fox.
The core of Back to the Future is that it's not a time travel movie. It's a movie about a family. And everybody can identify with the relationship that kid has with his parents, that parents have with each other, that friends have with each other, and Marty and Doc. And that's the core. That's why it's not a time travel movie about history. We tell you all the history you need to know in Back to the Future, because it's the history of this family. And if you love the characters, everybody's had a bully in their life. Everybody can identify with that. And then as we move on into the trilogy, the characters of Marty and Doc kind of trade places, and we have a new love story between Doc Brown and Clara Clayton, perfectly portrayed.
The psychiatrist, and he diagnosed the situation and recommended that I leave school.
Wow.
And I did. So, you know, there's hope.
There you go. You can follow instructions when you wanted to. That's what that is. Miss Mary, what about you? Were you a good student?
You know what? I think I was a decent student. I was very shy. I grew up in North Little Rock, Arkansas, and I went to the public schools there. And they thankfully had arts and music and those things that some schools don't think are important, but I think are super important. I had these teachers that realized, well, maybe she'll come out of her shell if she can do theater or do speed musical stuff. That changed my life forever.
A young lady came up to me. Oh no, somebody came up to me and said, there's a young lady who would like you to sign her. You know, really, you get it. And they said it'd be okay, you know, and it was right there in front of everybody at the table, you know. So I signed. I had a fairly long day. And I decided with bowl. Okay, and so that was that. And then she came back around 3 sometime in the afternoon, showed me that she had my signature tattooed.
Wow. Wow.
And that just kind of blew my mind, because what for the rest of her life does she say to a guy who does it? What the hell is Christopher Lloyd doing?
Daughter of a freight train conductor, so I gotta go with the train.
Gotta go with the train!
Yeah, I loved that train. I will tell you one thing about it though, they're loud, and we had the ride, I had to ride my horse up to the back of the train, and the wrangler said, there's going to be a noise and there's going to be a truck, and you've got to ride between them and go up to the back of the train and touch it, and then your stunt double will transfer. Turns out horses don't love doing that. So they trained me. We worked on this for a long time, and the night before we shot that moment, Wrangler called and said, I'm going to switch horses on you. And I was like, oh my God, I've completely worked on that horse for a long time now. Yes. He said, I know, I just have an instinct. And the next day, I got on the horse he told me that he felt good about. And the second I was on the horse, I thought, I feel good about this horse. And that horse, not the most gorgeous horse, just a horse was like, I have no trouble going up to that stage.
That's awesome. You said the Titanic? That's a dark movie.
I remember a lot of names for the West. I grew up in East for West when we did the original. I thought that I talked to you guys. You didn't see it.
No.
I dreamed it.
Well, I saw somebody write something on the internet, or maybe it was a video talking about how interesting it is that if somebody from 2025 went back to 1995, they wouldn't look that much different. You know, you walk around in blue jeans and t-shirt in 1995 and today, and it's not any different. So the difference between the 80s and the 50s, I mean, you go back to the 40s or the 30s or the 20s, and there's definite style differences, but everything kind of stagnated in the 90s, and it hasn't changed all that much.
Wow. I think about this all the time. I walk down the street and there's all these guys with these thin black parachutes, Lulu nose, and the beard, the purpley trimmed beards, and the hair with the thing, and they drive the lumpy black cars. There's no T-Birds and Mustangs and Volkswagens. These lumpy four-wheel drive.
One of the special things about being asked to do Back to the Future 3 was getting to do these scenes with Chris Lloyd, who in my first movie in 1977, I was the lead in a movie with Jack Nicholson, which he directed in a movie called Going South. And the first in my very obscure movie, but you can check it out. My first scene in, I think, first person that speaks to me on camera in a movie is Christopher Lloyd. So we had worked together on that, and that meant the world to me to go back and do that again.
Something that Bob didn't write brilliantly, because Bob is a great writer. And you just were like, I'm going to do this.
Well, one of the things that Chris could do is, because he's a theater-trained actor, will this in constant theater, how well you have to learn your line. Chris could just rattle off exposition like nobody's business. And so as a writer, I was real comfortable knowing that when I write this crazy stuff where he says, you know, lightning bolts send all the gigawatts down the cable and all that stuff, and he just could rattle that off and make it sound normal.
Yes.
but our special guest here, you know me, we need a 10. That was an 8.7. So let's do that one more time. Hello, Fan Expo Canada! I knew you had it in you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Where to begin? So, I'm Canadian, you know that. Tell that to Trump. So, I don't know where to begin. Usually, you know, I'll have a story or ask somebody to ask me a question or something. But I feel so nostalgic because, so I was born in Montreal and went to school. You can do it, do it. The little screen there. So I went to McGill and graduated, barely. No, I think I have the pleasure or the reputation of graduating with the least amount of points. I mean, I think I was like in the 50s, but 50 points. I mean, it was like 1 degree. I would have failed McGill, my 4 years in McGill. I wouldn't have graduated. And I just took a bunch of courses at the end and I passed them and barely, because I was interested at university. I was interested in doing the college musical, which is the Red, White, and Blue, and I wrote and directed and acted and theater and musicals and radio. I was part of a coterie of players who, the CBC in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, I don't think Halifax, but nobody thinks about Halifax. And, well, it's true, it's way up the coast. It's damp and cold. I shot film there, and I shot film in Halifax in a warehouse that had no heat in the middle of winter. So we're playing a scenes in an interior of the house, and our breath was like showing, hi, I love you. And the steam would come out of my mouth. Well, it just meant passion, I guess. See, John Draney was a radio actor with his great voice, and he was on everything. And he was what's her name? I'm not that out of it, but I don't remember names. So, like her, he was extraordinarily popular, and nobody knows his name because he's dead. A long time, and so when I'm asked about legacy, what is your legacy? There's no such thing as legacy. Everybody forgets, and the only legacy anybody has is doing a good deed, and that good deed reverberates for like the butterfly wings and. Well, they tear down the statues. They take the names off of buildings, or they put the names on. In my case, at McGill, after I barely passed, they put my name on the Student Union building. So it was the William Shatner Student Union. Oh, really? I didn't know anything about it. And then I asked somebody, I just went to McGill. And I said, is my name still on the building? And he didn't know. So, in any case, I came to Toronto, and I was very poor. I lived in a 5-flight walk-up, and so nobody went up there except me and the mice. Well, it's true. I would get up there late at night, go to sleep on that rope mattress, get up as early as I could, get out, and the mice came and played during the day. And then when I came back to my room, they went under my bed or something. They disappeared, and. It was very hard living. I wasn't making enough money to do anything, which included eating. And so there was a restaurant, and I can't remember the name of the street. What was the name of the street that the CBC was on years ago? Jarvis. Okay. Now, Jarvis. So we all know Jarvis Street. The CBC's no longer on Jarvis, right? Is the office still there? Is there still a building there? No, you don't know. Name me. So Jarvis goes north and south, right? What's the next street over? Church. Good. And what's one next over from Church? What is it?
There was a hotel and a restaurant named after the street. It was the hotel named on that street. 2 or 3, what? No. It's like Giroir or something. What? It doesn't matter. Why am I wasting time to remember a name that nobody can remember? Because the hotel was the hotel, whatever the street was. And the sign on the hotel was dinner was all you can eat for whatever, $1 or $2. So it was packed. I mean, it was a cafeteria. And that's when I ate. I would go in and it would be the meal of the day. And I'd sit there and eat. And then at 8 o'clock in the evening, that restaurant closed. And next in the lobby, next door over, was the bar, big bar. And it opened at 8 o'clock. And the hotel became a brothel. I kid you not. The ladies of the night all conglomerated in the bar and meet their Johns, go upstairs for the few minutes they went up, and they'd come back down and come at the bar until the next guy came along. And so I would eat at this one place for $1 or $2, and then it would close, and I didn't know anybody in Toronto. So I'd go over to the bar, and I'd sit at a table, and the girls would come and sit at the table. Hi, Bill. Oh, excuse me, they'd say, I gotta leave her. And she'd leave for 15, 20, a half an hour. Then she'd come back and say, where was I again? And we had conversation. There was, 3 or 4 ladies who befriended me, and we'd sit at the table and talk about anything. And there was one girl, I've forgotten her name, and I've forgotten what she looks like, so many years ago. She became my friend, and she was the only one I knew in Toronto. This poverty-stricken actor trying to knock on the CBC doors and eventually ending up at Stratford. But the months I spent at this hotel eating for $1 or $2 and going over and having somebody to talk to, even though they were the ladies of the night. Henry V, see? Not totally insane. So Henry V, and when you came in, you sat around the stage, they assigned you understudy. So Tyrone Guthrie said, all right, Shatner, you're understudying Henry V. And what we did at Stratford in those years, I presume still, but I don't know. You would begin rehearsals, say, for Henry V, and you were assigned the understudy role, which meant you had to learn the words and learn what the actor did, and be prepared to do what the actor did. But we would do the play at night and rehearse the next play during the day. There was no time for understudy rehearsal. So it was, we'll rehearse. We're going to open 3 or 4 plays. So that's 3 or 4 months, and 2 or 3 months, and in 2 or 3 months we'll get rehearsals for the understudy. So Guthrie says, you're understudying Henry V. You're going to understudy him. So, wow, okay. So the tendency would have been, okay, I got 3 or 4 months to learn the words. Once more onto the breach, once more onto the. But it didn't work out. Some gods of the drama sitting on my shoulder said, you better learn the words. You better learn the words. So every night I'd go back to my threadbare room in Stratford and I'd rehearse my word. I began to learn the words to Henry V during the rehearsal of Henry V. I didn't have a chance to see where he went, what his choreography was, because I was playing something, the brother or something to Henry V. So the play opens, critics great, he was lauded, great new Henry V, and we were open about a week and beginning rehearsals for another play when Guthrie comes up to me and says, Chris is ill, can you go on? Can I go on? I don't even know the name of the actors. And I don't know how to get to my room. What do you mean, go on? Well, no, he's sick. He's got kidney stones. Can you go on tonight? Go on tonight? He didn't know that I'm practicing in my room. I'd sit on the toilet and flush the toilet. Whenever the big, once more onto the rink, dear friends, and I'd flush the toilet. So nobody in the apartment building would hear me. Well, they would hear me and say, well, Shatner's going to the toilet again. I don't know what it was. But this instinct, I can contribute, I can blame nothing but some intuition. I learned the word. Guthrie is saying, can you go on? And I'm the stupid young actor. And I said, yes. Mr. Guthrie, I can go on. He said, well, you're on tonight. So that night, I got into Chris's wardrobe. I don't know if any of you have been to Stratford. If you haven't, this is... That's not as many as you should be. And there's a thrust stage. It isn't like this. It's like out there. So it's like there. So a lot of the action is like out there. So you can see everything. The stage manager who has a script back here, he can't help me. He can't say, yes, once more. And say once more again, Bill. No help. So I go on. And I have no idea what Chris was doing, whether standing or sitting. Much later, Christopher Plummer said, oh, Shatner didn't do anything I did. When I stood, he sat. When he sat, when I sat, he stood. I didn't tell him, and I think I did later on. I didn't know what he did. I was just sitting or standing. I was sitting because I was tired. I don't know. But I got through the play. In fact, I got through the point where all the declamatory speeches were over. And I've forgotten the words now, but there was 4 or 5. Shakespeare had written a patriotic play for Queen Elizabeth, and the play was Paean praise for the English, more onto the beach, and Soaker, patriotic people, loved the play, and then it's like a code where there's a French princess, and the king flirts with the French. I think he married her. In any case, the play has great drama, and then just slides slowly, lovingly to an end. But that's easy, except I forgot. I'm now looking at the art like yours by 10 times more people, and the critics were still there. And I'm looking on, and like I have blocked on Chris Plummer's name, and just you block on names. I never could remember Ben Folds, with whom I made an album, until I go, Ben Folds, an album. It's called Identic or something, remember? So I'm now blankly looking at the theaters. The girls, the princesses have gone off, and I know the character has to do something. So I look across the stage and I see the guy, the actor, playing my part, which is the brother to King Henry. And this is the guy. I think his name was Don Cherry. That's the name that comes in. It probably wasn't Don Cherry, but who the hell cares, right? So Don Cherry is there, who in rehearsal, he had a photographic memory. Instead of the first assistant reading the words, what's the word again? And he'd read it in rehearsal. Don Cherry would know every word of every character. And he's playing my brother. So as Henry V, I walk, and Don Cherry sees me coming. And I say, what do I say? And Don Cherry looks at me. Exactly like that. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be over there. Oh, look at it, thanks. No help there. And as I walked back, that goddess of drama whispered in my ear the words, and the words came to me, and there I was. I played the rest of the scene, and the curtain came, the lights went down, and that was the end of it. I had done a play in front of 2,500 people and critics who were very kind the next day. I have no memory. It was like being in battle. I have no memory of any of those things except people told me I did it. The wife of my in-laws. And I'm stricken. I don't know whether to go over there and kiss her on the cheek and say, it's been so long, how are you? Because she was painted and, she looked lady of the street. Because she was a lady of the street. She was a prostitute. She was a whore! And I see, and she sees me and she walks along here, following her. They don't know what I'm doing. I'm mesmerized. What's the next step? What's going to happen? And when she gets to the edge of the light there, she turns around and looks at the look. I've forgotten what she looked like. I recognize her now. She's lost in time. The look was one of love and reproachment.
like, I understand you. She said everything in this look. She turned and looked and she said, I understand you're ashamed of me. I understand you're being ashamed. And thank you for everything you've done. Goodbye. She turned and walked. Seen her ear. But it taught so much about other people and my own shame. What should I have done? What could I have done? What could I have done? I don't know. I mean, the gallant thing would have been to rush over and say, oh my, good to see you. Thank you. Here's $20. I don't know. But it's something, I mean, I don't remember much of that experience of going on for Henry V. I remember fitting into the uniform, and I remember like being fearful and brave at the same time, confident and be like a Canadian soldier in Dieppe or something, going to, they're afraid they're going to die and you cry. I don't know. But that moment, that lady, that moment, that Strat-Toronto show called I Don't Understand. And it's everything, because I don't understand anything. And so I would get people on the show with any subject and say, I don't understand what you do. What exactly, how did you, where did you? And I discovered in that show something that I must have understood, but never quite brought it to consciousness. And that is, everybody's got a story. Everybody has a life in here that's their own and that is precious. And if you work it right, they want to tell it, or they don't want to tell it, but they will tell it because it's screaming to get out. This is my truth. No matter how educated or uneducated, no matter how dunned they are by life, and how hopeless and helpless and fearful it is for them to be alive, that story still is there. Story needs to be told for them, and for them to tell it with their truth is like seeing something beautiful that's never been exposed before, a flower that was never there. I was talking to archaeologist not so long, a few days ago, and he was talking about something he had discovered. He had brushed, and there it was, a skull that was Denisovan, who nobody knows about, that primitive man, and I was looking at it, and it was something so beautiful. As an archaeologist, it spoke to him of history and of mankind, and those stories that people tell you that are embedded in them, that they wish to tell, they're there for everybody to talk about. Tell me your story. It doesn't need a microphone, it just needs pure interest. And that was one of the fun things that I did on a show. I did the shows,
Okay.
Congratulations, Ripley. You're moving on to the next round.
You and Lisa, take out each other back. Eliza, take it. No, sorry, no, Ruby, just as Ruby. Oh.
Woo!
Argentina? I mean, maybe? Archie's just chilling.
Definitely, you know what? Yeah. Pull some triggers here.
No, it's okay.
And at least you would speak based on the results. Sosa and top of the valedictorian, the Canada people, and then you got good veteran. Exactly. I got that hilarious. So is Colorado.
Really nice. Just gonna hang out.
Yeah. You don't have any like second innings?
make me use the force. Sorry, it's okay. Oh, he's all the way up there.
Because they're a part of my deck. Bro, stop. Also, if you get Ron, it gives me a point.
You guys said y'all want a cartwheel? Yeah! Who does that? That's crazy. Alright, I tell you what. I give y'all the general breakdown. I will do a cartwheel, but you guys gotta follow me on Instagram. Hardest recommended comics. Because I know you do. I know you do. No, but if we do so and you record it, you gotta tag me in it. So you gotta follow me in order to tag me. Deal? Deal! You would do it with me? Dante, you're the best. However, before I consider doing this cartwheel, I'll probably do it. It's fair. Peer pressure is I need you guys to scoot in and fill in empty seats because we got more people coming in. We will make sure everyone gets a chance. My phone starts going off like ding, 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 ding. Follow. You guys are the best. It really is starting to light up. Okay, slow down. Has everyone had a good time this weekend? Guys, y'all have shown up and shown out. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Who's been here all 4 days? Drink some water, because I know you're dehydrated.
What do you mean? It was 45. Really? You could have gone yesterday.
Alright, I'll do a cartwheel. I'll do it on this side. I did it this side last time. I'll do it this side this time. Don't make fun of the hat hair, okay? I've been wearing a hat all day. Don't make fun. There had to be somebody that did it. Alright, I have anything else in my pocket? I'll take those glasses off, I promise. Or they'll just fly out into the audience. You guys really like cartwheels, don't you? When was the last time you guys did a cartwheel? Yesterday. You did a cartwheel yesterday? I did. Oh, you did? Yes. When you were 9. Yeah, guys, listen. We are kids at heart, right? We got to do cartwheels more. You gonna chance it while I do it?
The liar.
Fan Expo Canada! Ladies and gentlemen, are y'all ready? Then make some noise and show all the love to Miss Haley Steinfeld!
Hello, everyone.
Oh gosh, you got us here, packed in this room, ready. All these phones up, guys. You're not gonna get to watch the panel.
Impressive.
Yeah, come on. Biggest challenge. Go ahead, say it. There was no challenge.
Oh my God.
Steinfeld. Get it together.
No, I was gonna say maybe one of the biggest challenges.
Come on.
I would say maybe taking everything that people know and love about Kate in the comics and bringing that to life. Felt as real and layered on screen. She's so many things, right? And I very quickly realized why she is a character that is so widely loved, and
Absolutely.
I felt it was such a great honor to play her.
Yes.
And so that was my job, was honoring everything that she is without making her feel just like a collection. But making her feel like a real layered person that you can connect with and connect to and resonate with. She's somebody that is figuring it out in real time, and I feel grateful that I get to evolve.
Come on, y'all. Huge, awesome experience. Big shout out to Jimmy Renner. Yes. Was there anything about work with him that we as fans would never know that you think would absolutely be amusing to all of us to hear?
That man loves a car chase scene.
Wait, what?
Okay, and I don't know that he would have any problem admitting that, but I was so taken aback by how much fun we had, I should say.
Okay.
We had the pleasure of filming this wild car chase for, it may have even been more than a day.
Seriously?
But at one point, we were taping our phones to different parts of the car so that we could have our own footage of what this looked like. Because it was just, it was one of those things where, like, you'd call your friends at the end of the day,
right.
I'd call my parents and try and explain what I did at work that day, and it would just not come across. So the phones taped to the front of the car did the explaining for us. But we
Allegedly, Disney. Allegedly, that didn't actually happen.
Right.
It would be cool if. I got you. But okay, so looking back at that though, like, are you a fan of car chases now, or was it just kind of him that you were feeding off of?
Oh no, I am.
Okay.
It literally felt like a ride at Disneyland. We were like, this should be a ride at Disneyland.
That should definitely happen.
Right?
We should all ride a car chase with Clint Barton and Kate Bishop. Come on. Come on.
Because I'll tell you, I may have underestimated just how much. Here's what I'll say. Something that I continue to find difficult is that because there is the obvious in live action, you have your body, you have your face, your physicality to help tell the story. With voice acting, all of that disappears and all your emotion has to come through in your voice. So it's really more about being more precise and sometimes bigger than you would be on camera, and that's the thing that's always like a little bit uncomfortable for me at times. I always love a subtle moment on camera, a look that says more than words might. When you're in the booth, you gotta say the words. So I have always found that to be challenging, but it's a total, it's just a different creative process. I love it so much. It really kind of, at the same time as being challenging, is because you get to explore a side of a character without worrying about what it looks like physically. Of course. So I do love it.
Make some noise for that. Different ways to think that's to anyone else that's aspiring to be a creative in this. That's absolutely amazing. Did you have any familiarity with either or?
You know what I thought I did? I didn't once I got in.
That's fair.
Again, the greatest part about playing both of those roles for so long was going back, learning more and growing and digging deeper into their stories. And they're both, Vi and Gwen, are characters that are written so beautifully, and they're so full of depth and weight, and they both have sides to them that are light and quick and witty and alive, and on the other hand, very emotional. And I just said this, but they carry a lot of weight and a lot of history, and it's really fun to play through all of that.
That's brilliant. But
that is deep. I'm so grateful, especially these characters that I am just voicing, and I don't get to put on that costume. To see the lengths that y'all go through to do that and to bring it to life for me, in a sense, feel that way. It really, truly is the coolest.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Make some noise for y'all. Some of these projects have a little bit of merch that comes along with it, some cool toys, some figures, clothing, things like that. Do you collect any of your characters' merch?
You know what's funny? I've picked up a couple things at these events where I'm like, I have never seen that before. What can I do to get my hands on that? I have started. I need to get better at it though, because there are some things out there that are just too good not to have.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. So, have you started with any sort of figures or action figures of yourself?
I have a Vi.
Okay.
That's all I got right now. As far as figures go, yeah. I know. God.
We gotta change that.
I know. Help me.
Done. I'll make some phone calls. We'll have some stuff in the back. Don't even worry about it. I can't like jump beyond this like without asking you about Sinners.
Our characters was so deep, and we wanted nothing more than to, attempt to set out to do what we've done with the help of everyone that has seen it. And it just was an incredible honor to be a part of that movie, to play the role of Mary, to work with Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan. It's an experience I'll never forget, and one I'll never take for granted. I'm so grateful to be part of that, and it really moved me in so many ways and pushed me in so many ways. And I was so excited and so ready for an experience like that. And I don't even know when I say an experience like that what I mean, because you can't pinpoint one like that. You can't. It's one you can only dream of. And even at that, those dreams are they're not incredibly vivid, because you just don't know kind of what it all has in store. But it's one that I was so grateful. I still have moments when it comes to that.
You nailed it. And I think what's amazing is with all the other roles that we have absolutely loved you for, in this one it felt like you felt you had arrived. And that was kind of the feeling, like it was an ascension to take on this role. And I think that's one of the reasons why we adore everyone in it. You especially shown quite excellent. Now, music is a huge part of Singers. Was there a particular music vibe that was set on set for you guys to kind of get into the right mind for playing these characters? Blues. All blues all the time.
We were listening to all blues.
Oh my gosh. Did you have any favorites?
Bessie Smith became a favorite of mine. She was really that made up the majority of mine. And then anytime Miles Caton would open his mouth, the room would just be still. It would it felt like everything stopped. And he learned how to play the guitar for this movie, which is also
how, like,
when I play guitar in a movie like that, I'm also gonna say I literally had no idea what I was doing right before, and just to really impress people. There's no way he didn't know how, but he didn't.
Wow.
He is a phenomenal talent, and anytime that he brought just something to it that was so special. But yeah, there was a lot of blues. Pinch me moment of it felt very like meta, because it was like I hear Kate is like,
right?
Oh my God, it's Clint, and here he is, like, oh my God, it's Jeremy Renner, because it's Clint. It was so surreal, and it was also this moment of like, when you meet on a project, you do everything you can to get the job. You get the job, and then you're there, and it's happening, and the cameras are 3.5 minutes away from rolling. You're like, this is my life, and this is so crazy, and I am so lucky, and how is this happening? And it really all hit me for the first time when I saw him in wardrobe. And that was so awesome. And the funnier part is probably that he was like, are you good? But he was so much fun. We had the most fun, and stepping into this world with somebody who's been in it forever.
Of course.
To show me the ropes and to lead the way was such a dream. And there really were so many moments throughout each day that were memorable with him. Sleeping late.
Okay.
Being out in nature, going for a nice long walk.
Okay.
And then doing something creative. I'm really into painting right now.
Nice.
I also do love a good paint by numbers, because it's very mindless and it looks really nice. Spending time with loved ones, and my dogs Martini and Brando. And then having a really great dinner with an awesome dessert. And then watching a movie and going to bed before the judge 10.
That's fair. That's a good day off. I like that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna get personal. My go-to karaoke is
No Scrubs TLC.
Bars. Absolute. Okay. I like the last thing I Googled was
Restaurants.
Okay. All right.
Restaurants in Toronto, to see what I can pick up.
That's fair. I was so afraid you're about to say the lyrics to No Scrubs. Like, if I wasn't an actress or singer, I'd probably be a
very sad person.
As with all of we. Absolutely. The character I've played that's most like me is...
Wow. Oh my God, I know this was supposed to be quick. This is so hard.
I know, I'm sorry.
Wow. Maybe? I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna be thinking about this at 2 a.m.
It's fair. She's gonna call me later like, no, I changed my mind.
Exactly. I feel like, and sorry, I don't mean to preface this, but most specifically when I played her,
okay,
this was a while ago, We're doing better now. Nadine in Edge of 17.
There is no one disappointed by that answer. Good job. Okay. I'm sorry again. My guilty pleasure show to binge watch is what?
I don't know. Do you have one? What is it?
Really?
Yeah?
West Wing. I will watch West Wing like we're about to vote for this election like right now. Like it's I will.
I'm not following that.
Okay, all right. My most used emoji is
a heart. Yeah.
My friends would describe me as
Loyal.
okay. No, they better stop right there. The most loyal, greatest, wonderful person. No. If my life had a theme song, it would.
What would yours be?
Well, that's a really good question.
Yeah, right?
Because, okay, listen, Haley, I'm a nerd, okay? Let me just start with that. Like, my theme song would be like the X-Men animated theme song. Yeah. We'll share. I got you. Okay, if I could eat only one food for the rest of my life, it would be...
What?
Wow! Go stand in your corner, right now. Inappropriate. I mean, I understand. We're not supposed to say that out loud. Inside thoughts.
I heard something else, but I'm not going to ask what this time.
Yeah.
Pizza.
Pizza's good. There's a lot of variety that you can have with pizza. There you go. Just a couple more. If I could instantly master any skill, I would choose...
I would have loved it if it was archery. Maybe... don't run with this too far, okay, everybody? Right. I'm not a bad cook. However, if I could master that...
There you go.
I would.
Okay. I respect that. And make lots of pizza. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Last one, and you're free. If I were a superhero in real life, my power...
I think about this all the time.
Let's go.
Caveat for each one.
Okay.
I've always said the ability to mess with time.
Okay.
But not time travel, per se. Just the ability to pause and maybe rewind. Put like on it.
Okay.
Maybe 24 hours.
Okay.
Back forth. But then like mind reading seems really great.
Okay.
But I might be too much of an overthinker to take
I was
that
going to
off.
say, that might
not be great. Invisibility. Fly on the wall.
Okay.
There is that.
I like that.
There's that
That's
too.
a big one. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility. Do you have it?
It does say if you were a superhero, I have to be honest, mine would be teleportation, but I would absolutely rob banks.
All right. Drop the mic. Love it.
No, I would actually like to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm scared of heights, but I would totally like to. I'm not gonna go that high to be flying. I mean, I can fly off the stage right here, and that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just makes travel that much easier. That's all.
Fair enough.
Yes.
I like that.
Thank you. Fan Expo Canada, join me one more time in celebrating.
I was like, you'll see it. Don't worry.
Yeah, I ended up spending like between yesterday.
Family yelling that. Yeah. Every one of my family names their son Stan. Yelling that's backward. It's a little.
Tell you the story of Bleach. Okay. Now I want to ask before I start. Do you want like no spoilers? Do you want like the most basic like Reader's Digest version? Do you want like, you know what, you'll probably never watch it, so just catch me up? Or do you want me to tell you in like the way the books are written, or based on like historical chronological order? Because there's a bunch of things that have just happened at where I'm at, and that was like prehistory, basically.
I'll choose chronological order.
Okay.
And what is this one?
Okay. So there was two. Let's just start with the Soul Society.
Okay.
So there is a place that people who have passed go. This is the Soul Society. They, after you die, you have to make your way there. Now, in most cases, sometimes people don't know how to get there because maybe they have unfinished business, like a ghost. It is the job of a soul reaper to basically help them pass on to the soul society.
Yeah, makes sense.
When a ghost doesn't get its full, like they become tarnished over time, or they're in pain because they didn't fulfill their destiny, like in their ghost life, like things that they wanted to do before they passed, they can turn into what is called a hollow. And a hollow is a mindless beast, basically. It's like a demon. It's covered mostly in bones, and it eats other souls. And it can, in some cases, harm humans. Actually, not in some cases. It can harm humans, especially if their unfinished business might be tied to a person. But the people can't see it. So you might be shown up with bruises and not know why. And in some cases, if somebody has a strong spiritual aura, it can attract hollows more towards them because hollows look for good souls. Sometimes it can be like a tied to like maybe their unfinished business, like, you know, like a cousin that maybe they wish that they beat up in their real life or something like that. Anyway, so it starts with this kid named Ichigo Kurosaki. He has orange hair. It's odd, but he does.
Some of the characters.
Yes, he has two sisters, and then his dad, and his mother died when he was like 3, and he blamed himself for years for it. Because he saw a ghost, and it turned out that it was a hollow. Now, he doesn't know this until after he becomes a soul reaper. The way he becomes a soul reaper, and it's technically not right, the way he changed, because a soul reaper is someone who is dead. Like, you're not supposed to be human and a soul reaper. It's your spiritual aura, basically. So, but Ichigo is unique. And the reason why he is able to do this is he can see ghosts. And he sees this soul reaper who has come to the region to deal with a specific hollow. And they basically almost die, this soul reaper. And so what they do is Ichigo kind of steals their power to become a soul reaper. So while he is outside of his body, she puts on like a glove that like pushes him out of his body to become a soul reaper. Because he has to basically, you know, because she's a deputy for the district, he has to fill in for her for that period of time. They get really close. They're like really good friends. He has a bunch of classmates named Chad and Orihime, which is the character I'm going to be cosplaying. And then there is another one called Uryu, which is a Quincy. Now, Quincy's are a kind of like a related group of people. So they are humans, and they had ideas about the way that they believed hollows should be dealt with. And it was basically like, we're just going to kill them. Whereas soul reapers went more for the, we're going to purge your souls. And depending on how good you were as a human, you might go to heaven or hell.
There's a chance to still save them.
Exactly. But Quincy's didn't think that way. In fact, they just killed hollows. Now, to be fair, it could be possible that I'm not far enough in the series to know, like, why it's that way, but it is. And because they are humans, they have a bloodline that they are so obsessed with upholding, which I just found out now. And there was this ancient being who was the first Quincy, the fathers of all Quincy's, and they're so obsessed with their blood, like their bloodlines. So based on the purity of how, like, pure you were based on your parents' lineage, it's very, like, Japanese-esque.
This is feeling a lot like Vampire Night.
Yeah. So what I find interesting is this is something that they just explained where I'm at in the story, okay? So, and to be fair, I'm like 5 of the 3 books in 1 away from the ending. So even Taika Kubo, the author, said, he's like, I've literally been waiting this the entire time. So, like, this is building up, like all the other books I've read before is building up to this particular spot.
Okay.
This is called the 1,000-Year Blood War, I think it is.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, because it's being made into the anime, so that's maybe how you found out. But yeah, so what ends up happening is Quincy's and Soul Reapers have different opinions, obviously, of how to deal with these particular issues. The Soul Reapers approach the Quincy's, being like, let's talk about this. This is not good for the balance of humanity. Because basically, if one Soul Reaper is killed, another one needs to be born. Kind of like the reincarnation of Circle of Life, kind of like the yin and yang, right? If you want the balance to hang in its proper thread, you can't kill hollows because it just cuts off life entirely. Again, I don't fully understand this because I don't know Shintoism that well, but it is kind of based on more of the reincarnation, where it's like, you need to allow them to pass on just as life needs to come in, kind of thing. Whereas Quincy's, because they were killing hollows, they were untilling the balance of life, which was very dangerous for just the Soul Society in general. Quincy's did not care. So then, in the early days of the Soul Society, they went full war and killed off a ton of Quincy's because they were just messing up with the order of business too much. And yeah.
So fast forward, now are they more like a marginalized group?
So yeah, they're like, from what they know, is they're like dead. Like, they don't think any of them exist except Uryu, who decided that, like, you know, their grandfather was the last Quincy, and they're like, I hate Soul Reapers, so I'm gonna take revenge, kind of thing. Where his grandfather was more like I believe that there is a place for both Soul Reapers and Quincy's to work together. But because he was a Quincy, he was murdered by the Soul Society.
No, how tragic.
And then, this is even worse. There is one of the captains. So the Soul Society is breaked off in different branches. There are, like, basically circles, and they go closer together. And there's several layers of this. The further you are in the circle, the more impoverished you are. So you're not going to be treated well. There's lots of awful things that happen to people who live there by Soul Reapers, because even though people join Soul Reaper Academy, doesn't necessarily mean they're good. But basically, it's like, the higher you go up in, like, the the order of the chain of command. Obviously, like, you get better kind of thing, but there were a lot of Soul Reapers that were bad people, so they'd murder for fun, or they would pillage, that kind of stuff. So it's a very weird relationship on like the outer skirts of the Soul Society and the relationship with the Soul Reapers. So a lot of people either really love Soul Reapers or they hate them. But that being said, though, it's not just Soul Reapers that abuse their powers, it's also just neighboring people being awful. Like Rukia, which is Ichigo's friend that he steals powers from, she was in one of these impoverished areas, and she had like 4 friends, and only her and Renji lived after many years of just they were murdered. Like these 2 other friends they had, and they were, so like at this point, like,
why were they murdered
though? It's never explained. They were just murdered, and they decided at one point, they're like, let's join the Soul Academy because I want to do something about the corruption in this world. And like, so like a lot of them do go in for good reasons, and some of them go in for very bad reasons. So anyways, there's captains that run these particular guards, and there is about 13 or 12 companies. I think it might be 13. And then there is the leader, which is, I can't remember what his station is called. But,
Who's the leader?
well, he has the most godlike powers. He's an old man, and like just living for millions of years, and no one's been able to touch him, kind of thing.
Oh, wow. So he was there at the beginning when that war broke out?
He was definitely there for that, yes. So what ends up happening is Ichigo awakens these powers that he's not supposed to have, but because he's just had such incredible like spiritual energy, he is able to adapt really quickly. And part of his power, and like I like to in my mind sometimes compare him to Sailor Moon. I know it sounds silly, but like the way Sailor Moon was is kind of like the more she is aware of herself and becomes confident, the more she becomes powerful. Sailor Moon is an abundance of endless power. Ichigo, even though he's not, I don't think he's like completely free from not dying, but he is a boundless of power. And the more he becomes aware of himself and his capabilities and leaning on other people, he becomes more powerful. So oftentimes, and this is such a trope that happens in the books, is he's in the middle of a fight and almost dies, and then he has like a spiritual moment with his Zenpacto, which I'll explain in a second. Okay. And then he'll just wake up as if he wasn't like on his deathbed 3 seconds ago and beats the other person. And it happens so frequently. So
what is this?
Zenpacto. Yeah. So a Zenpacto is a sword or a weapon of any sort, because I can't specifically say sword. Most of the time they come in the form of a sword, but it can come into different other forms, like an axe or something like that. And these are basically weapons that are forged from your spiritual energy, and they serve you and you serve them. Like it's a communion, because it's basically like physical form of your spiritual energy. So what ends up happening is, because he borrowed Rukia's sword, it wasn't actually his power that he used. And then I'm going to skip a bunch of things because there's so much to say and it'll be hours. We will be discussing this for hours, okay? There is something called holification, which isn't introduced until like the 3rd largest arc. Because like the first arc is him going to the Soul Society to get Rukia back, because she's basically, what ends up happening is they're going to execute her. So he goes to save her. While he's there, he uncovers a conspiracy with someone called Aizen. Aizen is one of the captains who, under radar of the leaders for many decades, has been really just pure evil. There is no other way to describe it. You know how like modern film has been trying to like give the villain some kind of background story? Yeah. His background story is that he's just an evil person. And like maybe it's because, you know, maybe his daddy left him. I don't know. But like it don't matter. He's just an awful human being.
But the hierarchs know this.
No, they don't. Oh. So for years he goes under radar and people don't know this. And he kind of borrows an ability from another captain, which he was kind of experimenting with. So this other captain, he is the smartest person in Soul Society, but goes under the radar. In the entire books, you kind of read him as like I don't know if I trust this guy, but he is unequivocally good. He's maybe not perfect, because sometimes he does do things in order to get his way, but he has intentions of protecting Soul Society, and specifically his king, which you don't even know until half of the series that there's even a Soul Society king. Okay.
That's never discussed.
No, I just flipped a couple of pages, like while I was waiting for you, and I saw his face, and I was like, that's what he looks like. Like
the whole time.
Yeah, like but you like in the last chapter they kind of mentioned him a little bit at the end, because Urahara, which is the name of that captain who you feel like has nefarious plans, you don't even know for the longest time ever that he's actually a captain, because the first section he's kind of like aiding Ichigo a little bit, because Ichigo's not even Soul Society, and helps him get there, and builds him like a fake body, like Rukia, fake body, because technically she's dead, so he had to build her like a temporary body that she could live in the land of living. So like, but you don't know why he has all these things, and it's because he used to be ahead of the research and development in the Soul Society, and he left his post because this conspiracy. He found out Aizen was a dirty man, so he had to leave because it looked bad. He left in the middle of like whatever, didn't tell anyone where he's going, and there he just so happens to be with all these dead Soul Reapers. So it's a huge conspiracy. Aizen just kind of goes under. Urahara's kind of like screwed over for decades because everyone just thinks that he betrayed the company, but in fact he did the best thing that he could. So for decades, he is also plotting against Aizen to fix his mistakes, because he knows he's pure evil. And then the more you're like with this guy, you're like, why does he know information about holification? And it's technically because
he's in the research and development.
He was the first person to develop it, but it wasn't to the point that Aizen was fricking around with it. It wasn't supposed to be like that. It was supposed to be for a different thing, but then Eisen decided to twist it and use it for his own good. Not good, bad. So you end up finding this huge conspiracy in the first arc, you know, Rukia being murdered. It's because there's actually something hidden inside her body that he needs in order to create a holification of a, like, so holification for soul, like for humans or soul reapers and stuff like that, it's not supposed to exist. It's like, because there's hollows, right? They're spirits that die. What he ends up doing is he ends up making it possible, or I don't think that he makes it possible. Actually, I can't really remember. There's certain aspects that I don't know very well, I'll be honest about that. So if you want to know, go to YouTube. Okay. But anyways, there is a place where all the hollows live. It's like beyond the land, and it's in the sky.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and so oftentimes when you see hollows show up at the beginning, it's like a crack in the sky that they come out of. Like, it's very eerie. Anyway, so there is different types of hollows. There is like basically legions of them.
So do they have their own realm?
Yes. And that's like the second arc, like big arc of the series, is they end up going there because they steal Orihime. Because Eisen, after he gets found out that he's a bad boy, becomes the king of the hollows, basically. Because so he's able to maneuver their uses to do something he wants to do, which is kill the Soul Society king. And so he's trying to do this through the use of hollows, which I think he just kind of decides, you guys are useless. I'm not.
He tries first and fails, and then
He has no desire. Well, he ends up getting captured and he is in prison. I have a strong suspicion that he's going to show up in 5 minutes, but because, you know, he's just ultimate villain. But anyway, so Ichigo goes to save Orihime in this. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna try to attempt to say the word of the place. I know how to spell it, but I can't say it because it's Spanish, and I only hear it in my head, and I know that's not how you say it. You know what I mean?
you need to hear it and then.
Yeah, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that. You know, and maybe if I watch the anime, I would know, but I never watched the anime, so.
So here we are.
Yeah. There are distinct differences between the anime and the manga. For example, like I told you, they just started doing the last arc, which is the one I'm reading now, in anime form. They never did that before. There was a lot of filler, which is also why I didn't want to watch the anime.
A lot of filler.
Yeah, because I do prefer that mangas tend to be more like, yeah. And anyways, that's just a personal preference, right? But like there were aspects of it that like every now and then I'll Google it just to see how they like played it out in anime form.
Is it more similar to like Fairy Tail and Naruto type of filler, or is it more like One Piece filler?
I think it's more like Naruto. I think because it's not really useful to the full story. Yeah. There is I guess like kind of like a mediary arc that happens between the end cars and where I'm reading now, but it's more about how Ichigo loses his Soul Reaper powers and gets it back. So it's important to the story, and I guess you could consider it filler, but it's not like the biggest arcs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's still
it's useful to the story. Anyways, so in the second arc, they find out that Orihime has a unique power, or we kind of already know that as the audience, but we get to know her power more. And this is something that I think a lot of the fans didn't really understand about Orihime, because like she gets a lot of flack online, or at least did when the anime was coming out. One, because they shipped Rukia more with Ichigo than they did with Orihime and Ichigo. But in the books though, it's actually canon that Orihime and Ichigo end up together. What? Yes, they do. I know that. I haven't read it yet, but I know what happens. Because I wanted to know one day. I was like, I need to know. I was always more of an Orihime shipper, just because Rukia's relationship with Ichigo is kind of like your twin sister. Yeah. Like they bicker a lot, and like I think some people online like found that hot, but like she is dead.
Yeah.
Like she's not.
There's only so much you can do.
And like that's something also the voice actor of Ichigo said at a panel. Sometimes they'd be like, "Ooh, Orihime or Rukia," and he's like, "Well, Rukia is a dead girl." So it was so funny.
Like that.
Yeah, like so funny. But the thing is the manga really goes into Orihime's character more. I think the biggest thing that fans didn't understand about Orihime is she, and I wouldn't say suffers, but like she is basically the stereotypical Japanese woman, like the very like suminase, like very like subdued kind of woman. That being said though, Orihime is a girly girl. She's a girly girl. She is very sweet, kind of naive, but she's also like the third top ranking student in her class. Like she's incredibly intelligent, but at the same time seems kind of, and that's partly because I think she is that more stereotypical Japanese woman where it's like, you're not supposed to be that confident, you know? And so, but that being said though, Orihime's greatest gifts is that she is more of her gift, or her power for that matter, is twofold. And it's kind of explained this by Eisen, because he was watching her power and he was fascinated by it. She has the ability to reject all phenomenon, is what they describe it as. Okay. So basically, if it's kind of in a way like time reversal, but not really. So if someone like throws a dart at her, she has the ability to reject phenomenon because it's not something that was supposed to happen. So if someone has their arm chopped off, she is fully capable to put it back on and act like it was never there. If someone dies and it's been too long, then she can't do anything about it.
But she can revive the right way.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things that she can do. And it's a very OP power. Like
sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like the interesting thing is, if that power was in anybody else's hands, it could be used awfully. But Orihime is such a good character. Like, she's just pure. She doesn't have any desire to get better. Like, you know, like the way some people would. Like, you know, like she hones her skills for the protection of other people, not so she can be the best. And that's also why she's so unique in her own way, which is like kind of admirable. I like that, the fact that she just desires to only use her powers for the sake of helping others. And that's the only case where she uses it. Now, it's in cases that she will protect people. It's not to say she will take it lying down, and she's had scenes in the comics where she's definitely like, you know, people are calling her weak, and she's like, don't stand between me and my friend. And then she's done something really badass. So like, she has that ability.
So when you say that she can reject phenomenon, what does that look like for the Hollows?
So when she is captured, basically the only reason why she goes, because she doesn't have to go, she can reject phenomenon, let's be real. She goes because they threaten her friends. And basically they're like, you have to go willing. So she is allowed to say goodbye to one person, and she chooses Ichigo, and while he's asleep, she says, I love you, basically. Actually, the best line of that book, like of her ever saying anything, she says, I could have been, like, she's like, I think about things I could have been in another life. Maybe I could have been a baker, or maybe I could have been this or that, whatever. And then she said, but in all of those lives, I would still love you. I know. I was like, oh, these lines. I know, they're crazy. What's interesting, though, and a lot of fans online didn't know this, is the author, like, shipped them from the very beginning. So he would have moments where, like, you could intentionally tell that the characters around Orihime and Ichigo understand that there is a bond that's silent. So, like, sometimes Orihime would talk about her feelings because she's honest about it. But then there was, like, a moment where she was jealous of, like, her, like, Rukia's relationship with Ichigo. And she was so embarrassed to admit how jealous she was. She was like, because I know he needs a friend, and I know that she's important to him, but it hurt. And what I found fascinating is, like, she's the only character who has those moments where she just, like, because Ichigo's is more about his internal war and, like, understanding his origins and his pain, whereas Orihime is more about, like, it's also about her pain. Like, the death of her brother was very horrific. She grew up in a very, like, abusive family, and her brother saved her from that situation, and then she lost him so young, so she was, like, alone for years, and Ichigo is, like, something that just, like, comforted her. And she, like, is recognizing, like, her neediness towards him is to fill that pain, but also still loves him regardless because of him. So it's like, it's very psychological the way she kind of processes her feelings about those things. Not to say that other characters don't, because there is an address of, like, each of the characters, like, explaining their past, but it's almost like there's a lot of attention to the way Orihime thinks about her feelings towards Ichigo, knowing it's selfish, but also, like, choosing to do it because even if it's selfish, she still gets to love him, kind of thing. It's very romantic, but it's also like what I like about it is Orihime is, again, like a girly girl, and I think oftentimes what happens with, like, modern film, and I don't think this is just a Japanese thing, I think this is an overall, is in our last few years, we've taken away from the woman who is in her feminine. And we've replaced it for, you know, a woman who's like a tomboy. Maybe, like, rides motorcycles on her downtime, but also, like, you know, and those things can be synopsis. I'm not saying they can't, but, like, there are women, like, for example, Maleficent's Aurora, right? She was a girly girl, but she was also, like, confident in who she was. Whereas I think the way they write a lot of women these days is, like, less about the confidence and more about, like, what can you do to appease the male character. Whereas with Orihime, even though, yes, she loves the main character, Ichigo, she's also her own woman, and she's becoming her own woman. Which is what I like about Orihime, because there's depth to her. It's not just, like, she's silly and, like, you know...
Yeah, how some of it's portrayed, especially in early 2000s.
Yeah, she is, like, actually involved in her own life, and you hear her thoughts a lot more about it. And then there's moments where, like, even though it's, like, they never confess their love. At least not this far. Maybe they do later. But, where it is right now, there's, like, moments where there's just silence between them. Like, there's just panels of them just, like, you know, Ichigo's embarrassed because he couldn't save Orihime. And Orihime's embarrassed that, like, Ichigo put that on himself, and now she feels like, I'm a burden to him. And then there's a moment where Rukia kind of just, like, encourages them to talk to each other. And then there's just a moment of silence where they're just acknowledging each other. And then he's like, I'm gonna do better. And she's like, good, you're feeling better. Like, just... You know what I mean? Like, just...
There's a lot of unspoken...
Yeah, and it's very smart because it's not like, you know, the romance is there, but, like, it's not also, like...
The bond is also there, though.
Yeah.
By not having a conversation and just sitting with it, and then for him to say the conclusion of that, and then to say... You know,
yeah. And it's really good, too, because Ichigo puts a lot on himself to, like, burden other people's feelings, but she does that, too. And so they kind of, like, help each other through it. Like, when he's like, I don't want to be a pain to you. And she's like, you're not. Like, this is what I want to do, kind of thing. And like, there was, like, one moment where he was in the middle of a fight, about to die, okay? And she says, Ichigo, don't die, or something like that. Like, she's yelling at him. And he just, like, there's, like, you know, the swords are flying back and forth, kind of thing. And then all of a sudden there's smoke, and then there's just his hand holding the sword. And he's like, sorry, I've been told I can't die anymore. so now I'm gonna do better. Like, it's just like they encourage each other in a way that's like very empowering for the reader to feel that, right? And for a lot of fans, since they didn't read the books, they just didn't get the subplot, because apparently the anime like cut out a lot of moments like that were in the books from the anime. And like some people online say it's because the like anime creators were shipping more Rukia Ichigo, so they cut out all this plot and then added more with Rukia and Ichigo. But then also the author Taikubo, he said that he had like no involvement in like the early stages of the anime. So yeah, so like these things that maybe would have been like important for the plot, they just didn't happen. Anyways, back to the main story. So Ichigo, again, going back through like when he's in like a power, right? He's about to die, and then he like speaks to his spirit. So his Zanpakuto, each person has a spiritual relationship with their Zanpakuto, and they know the name of their sword, and then they can unlock its ultimate powers. Like one of the captains has the ability to turn his Zanpakuto into 1,000 tiny little pieces of sword, and there's no way you can escape it. So basically, you're gonna die, like if that happens, kind of thing, right? Yeah. So there's different abilities for Ichigo's. His is that it makes him more honed in his skills, because he is so overpowered all the time that when he uses it, he's like more concentrated. And he's lighter on his feet because his sword's so heavy it drags him down oftentimes in its natural state. Now I skipped back in the day. I was telling you at the airport that I once upon a time like stopped reading the books, and then I was like, oh, like they're still being written. Let's see what like the most recent chapter is, and I'll like go read it. And I looked at it and I was like, I'm not supposed to read that. That was that was a lot of spoiler. So in this particular section, we've had several different incarnations of Ichigo. We've had his unlock of the Zanpakuto, which is a very, like, first we had the stolen version of the sword, which was from Rukia. Then we had his sword come out. And then we had his Zanpakuto Bankai come out, which is basically an alternate form of the sword and some of the most powerful moves, basically. There are apparently 3 different stages. I think a 4th one, which is forbidden, which he does once, which removes his powers, which is why he has to get them back again. Okay. But he beats Aizen's ass, so, you know, worth it.
So how does he get his own version of the sword?
So his sword was developed because he basically, Urahara, the captain who is hidden, you kind of feel like he has nefarious powers, he teaches Ichigo how to unlock it. What he has to do is basically cut his soul chain from his body. And as he's doing this, so he like turns him into his soul version. And if you're a human and you're not dead yet, you have a chain connected to your body, to your chest. And what he does is cut the chain in half, and then the chain starts holofying. So it basically is going to kill you. So he has to have this moment of unlocking himself, to which he has a moment with his Zanpakuto, Zangetsu, which is the name of his sword. Zangetsu is what he calls the old man. And there's like this room of like upside down buildings and everything's like horizontal. Like it's just a very unique room that he has with his Zanpakuto in his spiritual form. Okay. And then the next time he almost dies, he almost gets chopped, and then in his pocket is a hollow mask. And this starts showing up every time he starts transforming as a hollow mask. And then sometimes he'll transform and he'll be wearing the hollow mask. Okay. And you find out that he has the gene to holofy, even though that's not technically proper. He's not supposed to have that power. But you understand that, you know, he's unique and there's something there. Something happened, right? But it's not really explained, which it just explained. Like,
and what you just read?
Yes. Oh. Yes. I had suspicions, but I wasn't absolutely sure. But I kind of was like, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. Based on like once you learn how holification has happened in the Soul Society before, because Ichigo ends up meeting a couple of previous captains and assistant captains who are holified, and they're living in the natural world, and they're not supposed to be there. You don't know that they were previous captains and stuff like that when you meet them. You think they're kind of like weird, sketchy people, or like kind of like anti-heroes, and then you find out like they were basically screwed over by Aizen, and they lost their life because of it. Yeah, because of, you know, he loves screwing over people for his own advantage. And as he's practicing with the Soul Society, he's using this so he can actually use real hollows and basically turn them into humanoids and use them as an army, which he ends up doing. Yeah. And Ichigo, of course, does what he does, which is somehow like pull himself out of it and beat them. Anyways, but to be fair, he doesn't do it alone. Like the other captains join in often with Ichigo, but they are all very aware that Ichigo has like an enormous unhuman amount of power.
They're there for support and they understand that.
But they like also like they have a lot of power too. Like they're not going to be captains for no reason. It's just these particular like N-cards, they call them, are incredibly powerful. Partly because not only do they have Soul Reaper powers, but they also have holification, which is like undead powers. And anyway, so Ichigo has these powers, and you don't really know why, but he figures out a way to develop it. And Zangetsu, his Zanpakuto, kind of teaches him how to use his sword differently. And like oftentimes when Ichigo is learning stuff, his holified version is there showing him how to use the sword.
Oh, that's...
So they kind of like high-five each other often, but then also like sometimes that like one's there and the other one's not. So you don't really know like what the relationship Ichigo has with his spirit. Like, does he have just two divided spirits kind of thing?
Yeah. Wait, so there's 3 different versions?
So there's like layers of usage of your sword. There's the regular combat sword use. Then there is the Bunkai. Then there is also like an alternate power that comes with your Bunkai. Like you could, I guess you could say there's like 2 Bunkais. Okay. And then there's like a third that is like forbidden and will remove your powers. Yeah. I could be missing one, I will be honest, because like there's been so many like different like upgrades he's gotten that I kind of forget some of them, if I'm being honest. But also like he has a unique instance where he had to learn to control his hollow powers, which is also something that most Soul Reapers do not have to deal with. So he also has like a little bit more upgrade in that area as well, because then he learns more about himself and his powers. So we're now where I'm at. We're in the 3rd arc, which is the 1,000-Year War. That's at least the period, right? So we've gone through the Enkars, kind of. Basically, he saves Orihime and kicks Aizen's butt. Exactly what you expect it to be, and it's so worth reading every page of it. It's fascinating. You meet a lot of characters that like you kind of hate, then you love, and then you get to meet all the Enkars, and like
very engaging.
It is very engaging. There's one called Nell that you meet her at the beginning, and it just looks like a poor child, and it turns out that she was shot in the head by another Enkar, and she was reduced to a smaller version of herself. And the smaller version of herself doesn't really remember much. But then there is like, but her full form is like one of the most powerful Enkars. So
Does she have access to her full form?
if she remembers, there are periods of time where she can snap in and out. So she's a very powerful character, which mostly kind of shows up as like this little chibi girl who's like, Ichigo save me, but not in like a creepy way, you know, because sometimes these like chibi characters are like kind of weird.
Yeah.
She's not like that.
No, this is more just...
This is like a child, basically. It's like her child form self.
Yeah.
Okay, so
1,000-year
war. So we're introduced at the beginning where Ichigo gets a call from Nell that the Enkars are under attack. And he's like, okay. So he goes to help Nell. And it's a Quincy.
Oh.
Quincy's that are supposed to be dead.
Oh.
And there's a lot of them, right? So Ichigo starts handling this. While that happens, the king of the Quincy's send the rest to Soul Society to kill them. Now, they've already had a couple of occurrences where like entire towns have just been wiped out. But they weren't sure fully, and some of them were kind of nervous to even say the Q word. But it eventually came out that yes, it was Quincy's, and then they decided while Ichigo was distracted, they would go to the Soul Society, which they invited Aizen to join them. He said, I'll think about it. All I'm thinking is, oh, he's gonna show up. I know he's gonna show up. There's no freaking way. He's ultimate evil. Like, they've had him through all the last 2 arcs. Well, now he's gonna sit out? No way. Anyways, the king of Quincy's ordered them to annihilate Soul Society.
Oh, wow.
And they did a pretty good job.
What?
Yeah. Certain characters not supposed to die, dead. Dead.
What?
Yep. You're like, this is a bloodbath.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's pouring out, isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know. Or it's just cars. Or it's just cars. So, and Ichigo gets pretty badly wounded, but for some reason, and this is interesting, the Quincy's have the ability to absorb the Bunkai of Soul Reapers. So basically, instantly, these Soul Reapers who could like do anything are basically with their limbs cut off. Like, that's basically how incapacitated they are. And some of the most powerful ones either die or are almost dead.
What?
Yes.
So, are there more characters like Orihime?
There's one other character that's like Orihime. There's a couple that do have abilities of healing. So what ends up happening is after the Soul Society takes a huge hit, they end up opening the city that is made for the god so that Ichigo can reform his health. And they bring all the other characters who are almost dead too to revive them. And they bring them to the 5 cities of the Keepers of the King.
Okay.
And each one of them has different abilities. So the first one is just overall healing of the body, to which Ichigo heals. And then the second one is rejuvenation. So eating all the food. So there's this woman that's like really overweight. And as soon as she's like cooking, she loses, like basically her power of healing is in her weight. So as she's cooking, she comes out of the kitchen and all of a sudden like thin waist and the boys are drooling. Like, it's just so funny. And of course she's got the biggest boobs, you know, because, you know.
Naturally.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, exactly. She like feeds him and Renji. Renji is like best friends with Rukia. He's also one of the other assistant captains and he shows up frequently throughout the books. Great character. Love him. He's so funny. Basically like Ichigo's twin. They're both like high egomaniacs and like fighting for competition, but also like they're bros and they like have a silence and they like understand each other.
Part of the...
Yeah. Anyway, so they go off and eat together and then they come to the 3rd realm. This is where I was at, okay? The 3rd realm is basically this guy who makes the Zanpakutos. They're kind of like shells, if you will, but he makes the ability so that like if a Soul Reaper is to bond with a sword, then it's like his spirit becomes implanted on the sword, right? So this guy, he builds all Zanpakutos. They're in the Soul Society. And so Renji finds his, Ichigo fails. And the reason why is that's not how he created his sword, because he didn't die and he didn't just pick a sword that way, right? So he found his sword his own way, so he had to figure out his own origins. So then it gets to where I'm at.
Okay.
Again, I had suspicions, I wasn't sure. his mother was a Quincy.
Oh my god.
And at some point you find out in the last arc, his dad was actually a Soul Reaper.
What?
Yes. So, but you don't know that his mom's a Quincy until where I'm at. So you find out his dad's a Soul Reaper earlier, but you don't know why his dad became a Soul Reaper, why he's been living on Earth if he has the Soul Reaper powers. Like, how does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
So Ichigo basically has to find out his origin in order to find his Senpacto. So his dad finally tells him the story because his dad was like, I'm not, and Ichigo was basically like, when you're ready to tell me, you'll tell me, basically, because, you know, it was obviously like Ichigo had no idea, right?
Yeah.
So Ichigo's mother was a pure breed Quincy, which is very rare because obviously like their society has kind of been mostly killed off due to the Soul Reapers killing them off, right? So it's rare for her to be as pure-blooded as she is. As this is going on, Ichigo's dad, who's a Soul Reaper, you know, has been in Soul Society forever, so he's fully dead, okay? He gets notice that something's happening in the world of the living where Soul Reapers are just dying, and he wants to know what it is. So he decides to sneak off and investigate. And you find out that this guy is a captain. So he is a captain of his own squad. Like, he's got his own bankai. Like, he's a powerful dude, okay? So, yeah. So, but you don't know this until, like, now. So you're like, oh, Ichigo's dad was a captain. How fun. Like, you didn't know, like, what station he was. He could have been, like, 30th or something, but you find out, no, he was a captain, which there's only 13 quadrants and millions of Soul Eaters, so you can do the equation of how powerful he was. Never a good sign. Anyway, so he sneaks off to find out, and he faces a hollow that is humanoid. And my instant thought was, that looks like Ichigo's mask. I'm like, so we're obviously going to see how this plays out. So meanwhile this is going on, there's like a panel where like Aizen and two of his, you know, minions, I'm not going to say minions because someone in the comments be like, how could you say that about this? And the characters have backgrounds, but since you don't know, I'm not going to explain them to you. They're characters who followed him, basically. And they're watching this because this is one of their experiments to make the Ankar. So, which is the holified Soul Reaper creature that he ends up making his soldiers, right? This is one of the first stages of that, and this is the first, like, fully developed one that's mostly hollow and also, like, has a little bit of Soul Reaper power. And even Ichigo's dad in this, like, remarks on that in his mind. He's like, this is the moves of a Soul Reaper. To which I totally forgot this as well. Holification also kind of comes from absorption of Soul Reaper powers, so like thousands of Soul Reapers that have died that have been put into like this particular Ankar. So he's basically fighting like a bunch of different Soul Reapers at once through this hollow, which is why hollows have that ability to use
like Soul Reaper power.
Yeah, exactly. To which he in the middle of this battle, he's doing this outside of this big mansion, which just so happens to be where she's living, Ichigo's mom.
Oh, I thought she died.
No, so they haven't even met yet.
Yeah.
This hollow just happens to show up here. Now, she is being watched over by a very wealthy family. Her parents are dead, but she is the last living, like, purebred of her family. So basically, they want her to live with them, so she marries their son to keep the purebred line of the Quincy's. To which she's kind of, you can tell she's a sweet person. This family's like stern, again, typical Japanese family where they're kind of hard on their kids kind of thing. Like what you would read in like every manga where it's like, you know, the parents are really abusive and the kids just kind of take it. Whereas like, she feels like she's a burden. She knows she's here to marry their son, like just that kind of stuff. As this is going on, she sees this Soul Reaper fighting this hollow outside her house, and she's about to do something about it. And the guy she's supposed to marry is like, don't go out there. I'm gonna have to tell if you do. Like, they're adults or teenagers, right?
So he's a coward.
He's kinda.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand him yet. But that being said, though, I looked at him and I'm like, that's Uryu's dad. Like, Ichigo's friend who's a Quincy. That's his dad.
Oh.
Yes. And I only know this because they kind of briefly mentioned him. He was talking with Aizen, which I was like, that's sketchy. I don't trust this guy. Anyway, and he doesn't like the fact that his son hangs out with Soul Reapers. Like, he hates it. Which, to be fair, Quincy's natural enemies to the Soul Reapers. But anyway, because, you know, they slaughtered them. But either way, Ichigo's mother runs out of the house and saves Ichigo's dad. Now, while this is happening, you know, because the Quincy's have an ability to basically use the energy around them to build up their power. So they can use energy from around them, whereas Soul Reapers are based on their own inner power. So it's like two different methods of using power, especially since Quincy's are human. I think what she ends up doing is she technically, because like again, it's panel, so it's like kind of hard to see, but I think what she did is she kind of used herself as bait to get a close shot to it and blew it in the head. But it did bit her.
Okay.
When that happens, if you get bit by a hollow like that, technically you become holified.
Even if you're not dead.
Well, they don't know yet, because this is the experiment that was supposed to happen. This is Aizen's watching because he was expecting this to absorb, you know, Ichigo's dad's Soul Reaper, but it didn't happen. Instead, it bit her. So after a few days, she gets sick. And he's like, meanwhile, Ichigo's dad doesn't know anything about this, but he's like in the Soul Society. He's like, I want to thank her because she saved my life, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty girl, you know, that kind of thing.
Something in his list.
Yeah. And then she was thinking of him too. She was like, yeah, I wonder how he's doing, you know, that kind of thing. But either way, she gets sick. He returns, and she is going to die, basically. And Urahara is there because he understands what's happening. So he takes the Quincy guy and her and Ichigo's dad and explains to them what's happening. Basically, because she's human, she will absolutely turn hollow. There is no doubt about it. There's no way out of it. But what he can do is she needs to be basically close proximity at all times for the rest of her life to somebody who has soul powers who can counteract the effects of the holification. So basically it's like it holds back the ability of it fully ever absorbing into her.
Okay, makes sense.
So because she is human, he is opposite. He's dead, right? So he would counteract the effects of the holification. So what he does is what Urahara does is tie their souls together. So he basically just agrees. Like, he's like, you have to decide right now if you're going to do this for the rest of your life. You're deciding right now that you're just going to live with her. And they're like, they're about to argue. And he's like, I'll just do it. Like, who cares? So he just like automatically agrees. Yeah. And then of course they fall in love. And then they have kids and they have Ichigo and their 2 other daughters.
Oh.
What ended up happening is he didn't know why Ichigo's mother died. I always knew there was something there. I didn't know what it was. And they finally explained it. And I'm like, that is crazy.
How did she die?
So the king of the Quincy's decided that he wanted to absorb all Quincy's that were not pure-blooded or not worthy. And because she had hollow inside of her, even though she was a purebred, he absorbed her. So she wasn't, and basically what he did is he absorbed their power. So they were incapacitated and would have not survived. Yeah. So same thing happened with Uryu's mom. Because she wasn't a purebred, she was a maid. She was half Quincy and half human, that she became ill and died because he absorbed her powers.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my god, it makes me so mad knowing that, because like the entire book, like you find out like one of the first chapters how his mom dies. Yeah. Ichigo's like 5 sees a ghost, or at least he thinks it's a ghost, so he wants to say hi. Well, he couldn't tell if it was a ghost or not because he's so young, he can't tell if something's a ghost or real. And then he meets the hollow later that ate his mother. And basically it has this ability to disguise itself as anybody. And because it was like, it's kind of like a puppet, right? Like, yeah. And so he thought it was real, and then, but his mother knew what it was and saw it and tried to protect Ichigo, and she died in the midst of that. So because her powers were moved, just so happens to also be that. I mean, she could have lived longer, but she wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's where we're getting to the good part, okay?
Okay.
This is where I left it off. And this is exactly what I read before, and I was like, oh my god. And I kind of wiped it from my memory. And I remember talking to my coworker about this. I'm like, did you know that Ichigo's Zanpakuto is not actually his Zanpakuto?
What?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's his mother's?
No. Okay. Ichigo's real spiritual soul power is the hollow power. Because when his mom became almost hollow, she passed down that holification to Ichigo. But she's a Quincy. Which means her blood is attached to the king of all Quincy's. So when... This is so crazy. So when Ichigo goes to commune with his sword to find out his origins, why can't he connect to his Zanpakuto? It's because he's not meant to be a soul reaper, he's meant to be a Quincy. What? So when he's like in the room with Zangetsu, it's actually 1,000 years ago, king of the Quincy's.
That he's talking to?
Yes. But he looks different because it's 1,000 years ago.
Oh my god.
So he's not as aged and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, oh, I see it now. And so then finally his Zanpakuto, Zangetsu, explains, I didn't like the fact that you were a soul reaper, so I was actually hindering your powers because I didn't want you to be this. What? He's like, but as you grew, like I kind of grew with you. And he's like, but now I'm going to leave you because I realize that's the best option for you. So like mind blown. I know, right? Crazy. So anyways, in this space, he starts disappearing, and Ichigo has this thought to himself where he's like, but any time that you were there, I learned from you and my holification. So actually both of you are my power. And then he as this is going on, his sword is being forged, this new brand sword from, this guy who makes all the Zanpakutos. And there's like a huge bright light because obviously it's all of Ichigo's powers, because you find out, well, of course that dude's been subdued this entire time by his own freaking soul, which was his Quincy powers. So now you're like, okay, well now let's see what you actually can do, considering you've been apparently hindered the whole time, even though you're so OP for no reason.
So even more so now.
Yeah, exactly. Not even close to that. Anyways, right? So like, I don't even know what happens next, but he forges his sword. And it's 2 different blades. He now has 2 blades, one representing his holification and the other one his Quincy. Oh, and that's where I left off. And that's where I left off.
That's a good spot to leave off. That is such a cool chapter.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep.
All of that internal work, we'll need to find out.
Yeah. Well, also, Ichigo's powers are pretty OP because, his friend Chad, for example, who's throughout, all of his adventures with Ichigo, he's human, but he unlocks these really weird powers just because Ichigo's power is so overwhelming that it affects the people around him. So even though people around him are not supposed to be opening their spiritual energy, they're just all of a sudden seeing ghosts because just being around Ichigo is just awakening all of them.
But that's not something that the reader has has noticed.
Oh no, they like explain it to us.
Okay.
Like Orihime's powers aren't supposed to be unlocked, but because she was in proximity with Ichigo, she was able to unlock her powers. And in fact, at some point, like she did like have them, like it was at the very beginning. I think it was either the second or third chapter where you get Orihime's background story. So that obviously you know immediately that Orihime's a very important character, considering they like involve her so early. Yeah. They you know, there's a moment where you meet her brother, and her brother's a hollow, and you understand like how her brother became a hollow, and actually, and she has this moment where she sees him and Ichigo in the spirit form, and she's not supposed to. So they erase her memory. But then after a couple of chapters, you realize it didn't work. She just lied. Oh. Yeah, because she has already unlocked all her powers.
Interesting. So when they go over how his power overwhelms people around him, they don't go into explosive detail. They just kind of say that he's OP as stuff, basically.
They don't even understand how OP he is, though. That's the thing. That's kind of why Urahara is always sticking around Ichigo, because he knows how powerful he is. But Urahara doesn't just, you know, like, kiss and tell. Like, he's the kind of guy who's tight-lipped, and then later he's like, oh, shucks, sorry, I didn't tell you, bro. Hope you're not mad at me. Like,
but at this point where you left off, that's kind of how it was?
Well, it's partly because of Ichigo's, like, history. It was more of a family thing, right? So Urahara knew, because he was there, but it was like, Urahara knew that it was something his dad had to reveal. So like basically when this is also something that happened at the beginning of the book, like the very beginning of the series, you know that his mom probably saw ghosts, but you weren't sure, but you know his dad can't. And then when they reveal that he was a soul reaper, it's like, how can he not see ghosts then? And then they explain that when he tied his soul to his wife, the mother, his soul reaper powers were basically taken away from him as long as that tie was there, so he can no longer see ghosts or hollows.
Oh, interesting.
But because him and his wife were both just such strong spiritual energies, they just passed it to their kids.
Oh.
Yeah, so like Karen is one of, like, so he has Ichigo and then 2 daughters, and Karen is one of the daughters that, like, she can see ghosts pretty vividly too. And you know that, like, she probably has like some other spiritual powers, but she's just a kid, and she, you know, Ichigo would never want that from her, so you never get that from the books. But
so his sisters are younger than him?
yes, they're so he, from where I'm at right now, I think he's in grade 12 of high school, and I think his sisters are just starting, or they're like hitting junior high, so so they're like in development phase right now. But yeah,
naturally high school. Yeah.
So that is where I'm at. I know one spoiler I'm not supposed to know, but the spoiler is that the Soul Society God King dies, and then Orihime revives him, which I'm fascinated to know about that. But I only know that because I was like scrolling on YouTube and somebody said something, and I'm like, no!
That's why you don't
I know.
protect yourself.
But hey, like at least I would read a couple of words, and then I would just kind of like read the context wrong. So then I'd be like, no, how does this person not end up with this other person, kind of thing. And then it would make me mad, and I'd read it even more, and then I'd be like, okay, never mind, I was just reading out of context again. And it works every single time. And so that's why I read those chapters I wasn't supposed to read.
Oh my God.